What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the channel finally. It's been a little while since we posted our last video on the Pittsburgh Pirates franchise here on MLB The Show 20. I believe it was last week, maybe 6 days ago. So it's been a little while and a lot has happened. So I have a lot to update you guys on, but before we get into the video, I want to thank you all that have been watching this series and watching all of my other videos on the channel. We just passed 1,000 subscribers yesterday. We're actually up to 1,030 subscribers, and I can't thank you guys enough. This is beyond what I ever thought was possible for this channel, so I'm just blown away by the continued support of my subscribers and this community here that we're building. Hopefully we can continue this, and hopefully I can continue to help as many people as possible with my tips and tricks videos, and provide, other content like this for you guys. So I'm really thankful. My goal for the year was to hit 750 subscribers, so we have blown that out of the water within the first couple months of the year. So I really am thankful for everything that you guys do in terms of supporting me. So really appreciated that, and I wanted to shout you guys all out and let you guys know that you are appreciated. Now, let's jump into this Pittsburgh Pirates franchise and update you guys on everything that has happened thus far. So last season, we ended off with that Pirates stream on Twitch, which you guys might have saw. We played the Brewers, and I believe we won 3-2 in a very close game. It was a lot of fun, so if you guys didn't watch that stream against the Brewers, make sure you guys go back and watch, because that was the Pittsburgh Pirates' first playoff win in 5 or so years or something like that, since 2015, I think it was. Very important win for this franchise. We went on to play the Dodgers in the offseason, in the postseason. We actually took them to a 5th game. We went back and forth in the series, got it to 2-2, and we lost 4-3 in the 5th game of that series, which was huge for us because the Dodgers went on to win the World Series, which means we came 1 run away, or 2 runs away, from the World Series champions, which is really good because that means this season we are primed and ready to go to make a shot at that title. A lot has happened with the team in the offseason. I fudged some things up. You guys will see that in this video probably with the roster, and so let's just cover it all here today. As you guys can see, to start off the season, we are 6-0. I'm going to try and bring you guys some gameplay content. I apologize that I haven't. I've just been very busy lately. I know that the coronavirus and everything has gone on, so you would think that I'd have more free time, but in reality, it's just more time that I'm spending, taking care of my house, doing chores and stuff. And with spring coming, haven't had a whole lot of time to help out on here. So hopefully we can get some more gameplay content. That'll either be on Twitch. I might post some on here. We'll see what happens. So if you have not already, go follow my Twitch account. It is Jacob_Reid_YouTube. Hopefully you guys can find it. If you have trouble finding it, leave a comment down below and I will link you to it, because I know that a couple people have had trouble finding it to this point, and I'll help you guys out get to that Twitch channel so that I can post more gameplay for you guys there live, because those games are long and I don't know how everybody feels about me posting hour-long gameplay here on the channel. So there's that. Let's go ahead and get into some of the updates with the roster. As you guys can see, we're 6-0 to start the season. We've played some games. We played the entire Chicago series to start off. We did really well. Pitching wise, our bullpen hasn't played quite as well as I would have liked them to, because we've actually gotten out to leads early in these games, and Brian Reynolds hit a couple home runs in these games to kind of put us ahead early on, and so he's been doing really well for us. We won the first game 7-6, the second game 3-2, and the third game 5-4, so very close games. Keone Kela, I believe, got a save in all 3 of those games, but that's a really nice way to start the year off, is to win all 3 games against Chicago. We proceeded to go and play Cincinnati, where we won 3 games in a row, winning 12-4, 3-2, and 5-1. So very strong performance for us out of the gate this season, which is just really nice to see. I really like pitching. My favorite pitcher to pitch with at this point is actually, and it's not going to give him a win, is Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller has been doing phenomenal for me. The break on his pitches is ridiculous. You guys can see that I have a pretty good ERA with most of these guys so far. I got shelled with Chad Cole when I played with him. That was personal mistakes on my part, leaving some pitches up in the zone, and that hurt us a bit. But with the other pitchers, you guys can see I've done very well so far. And Domingo Robles is actually our 5th pitcher this season, and so we're going to get into some of this stuff about our rotation and everything. As you guys can see, Tyon, Keller, and Cool survived from last season. We had to keep Cole around. I thought about trading him, but I just couldn't afford to trade him after he went like... How many wins did he have? He had double-digit wins, I know, and he had a positive record, and he started out like 8-0 or something like that, or 8-1, which was really strong. So I had to keep him around. Brandon Waddell finished out the season strong for us, and he continues to improve here. And our 5th spot in the rotation ended up being opened up, so we brought in Domingo Robles. Just brought him up from the minors. No guarantee that he's going to stay up here, but we're trying him out for now. I might consider putting Eliezer Hernandez in that spot because he's been very good for us, and he has the stamina to be a starting pitcher. So he might flip to that starting pitcher rotation. Robles might go down. He might play in the bullpen. We'll see. The bullpen, as it stands right now, Keone Kela is the closer. Scott Foster has been doing very well for us as a setup person, or a setup man, since the end of last season. He has a pretty bad ERA, but he hasn't lost us any games, obviously. So, he's given up some solo home runs and stuff, which we're going to try and work out as we move forward. Archie Bradley leads off as our what am I saying? I need to slow down here. Leads the bullpen as the top middle relief pitcher. Then we have Peter Fairbanks up in here, who progressed really nicely from last season. As you guys might remember, he started off as like a low 60 overall player, and he continued to progress, and I look to continue to progress him beyond that. Robert Gesellman is up for us this season. I like him a lot because he throws straight gas. He's got 99 velocity, so I can utilize him very well. And then we also have Nick Birdie, who throws gas. So we have a really nice bullpen working for us here. And then in terms of our lineup, who we have up in the Major League, this is where things get a little bit complicated because I fudged some things up in terms of service time and options. I don't know how exactly it happened, but some of these players are out of options. So Kevin Newman, obvious start for us. He had a tremendous season last season. I'm surprised that he didn't honestly earn like an MVP award or something, because he ended up batting as one of the best players in the league, had a whole bunch of home runs, is doing the same for us this year. Cole Tucker is up. He actually started off the season down in AAA, so that's why he doesn't have any stats yet, and that was an issue that we had where we just didn't have a roster spot for him right now, so we had to work some things out. Like I said, for some reason the roster got screwed up where I had all these guys on the 40-man roster and they were up in the Major League, and I just did something wrong, so I have to work my way around it. Brian Reynolds is playing well for us. He is obviously the number 3 spot, as he was last year. Josh Bell is the number 4 spot, also playing very well for us. This is where things get a little bit complicated. O'Neal Cruz is up for us, and we have to find him a starting spot here. So he's playing at shortstop, and actually Kevin Newman, who was playing shortstop for us last year, didn't progress as well as I would have liked him to defensively, so I moved him to second base to allow O'Neal Cruz, who has a better arm and should end up being a better defender, to play shortstop. Now, what my friend Johnny has said is that he is a little bit tall. He's like 6'7" or something like that. He's a bit big for a shortstop, and so his natural position might not end up being shortstop when he does reach the Major League level, but I'd like to give him a shot there. I've been told that he's probably going to project out as more of a right fielder type player, so we'll see. He might end up in that position for us. JJ Bleday doing really well for us in right field. I have no complaints, as you guys might have seen in that Twitch game that I showed you guys, where we played that wild card game against we broadcasted that wild card game against the Brewers. JJ Bleday had 2 amazing diving catches for us. He is absolutely taking over for this team. I wish that his overall would jump up even higher than it is, but I'm not unhappy with an 81 overall JJ Bleday playing for us in right field, because he's an all-around really good player for us. Cabrian Hayes is up and starting at third base. He's had a rough go of it in terms of his batting ability, so we're going to see if we can increase his batting ability as we go along. I'm going to try and hit better with him, but this might result in him going back down to AAA at some point. I don't know if we can afford to do that because he's such a good defender for us at third base. I just need to find a way to get his bat going. Brandon Marsh is starting for us in center field, has done really well for us since last season, has a really nice arm, has decent enough speed to play center, and has a good bat. So I'm happy with that. Sean Murphy, we need to get his bat going. There's no excuse for his average to be so low at this point. It's just poor hitting on my part because he does have good contact on both sides. So struggling a little bit for him so far. Jorge Mateo playing at second base. We're just going to look to see more progression out of him. He's more of a platoon type of guy that can play a couple different positions. Colin Moran actually got hurt, so that's why he's out of the lineup, or he would probably be playing DH where Cole Tucker is. He was playing really well for me to start the season. As you guys can see, he was batting .444, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and 18 at-bats. I have no complaints out of him so far. It's just a matter of getting him back healthy and getting him back into that DH spot so I can continue to knock stuff out of the park with him. Jason Martin is up. In his limited at-bats, he's batted .400. He's a very good defensive substitution. I have no problems keeping him up at this point, and this is where things start to get a little bit more complicated. We have 3 catchers up on the roster, and there's a very good reason for this. So Sean Murphy is our catcher of the future. We're going to hope to continue to develop him. Well, we ran into another problem where Dalton Varsho ended up at the MLB level for spring training. I didn't call him up, the computer did, and it put him out of options. So I can't option him back down to the minor leagues, so I'm stuck with him up in the major leagues, which is fine. That would be fine if Cal Raleigh wasn't sniped off of my roster in the Rule 5 draft by the Marlins. And so what I did is I traded Jose Ozuna, 67 overall first baseman that was injured for us all last season. I traded him to the Marlins to get Cal Raleigh back because this was going to be one of our catching prospects that I really liked, not realizing that Varsho is out of minor league options, and so now I have 2 catchers that are stuck up here in the major league, and I kind of screwed myself over. Luckily, Varsho's secondary position is outfield, and he has the speed to play it, so that's really nice. He projects as potentially an outfielder actually in real life if he doesn't succeed at catcher, and Cal Raleigh can play third base for me, which is another good option. So they at least have decent secondary positions where I can get them in. I can get them at bats. They both have decent bats, Varsho more so than Raleigh. So that is how our roster projects out right now. So a couple tough obstacles that we're going to have to navigate this season, but hopefully we can turn things into a positive. Obviously, we're 6-0, so things are looking up. In terms of the roster, let's go ahead and go through position by position. I don't know what I just did. We need to go to the Pirates. What is going on? There we go. Okay, starting pitching-wise, we have had a lot of really good progression from our starting pitchers. Toby McVale was our 3rd or so round draft pick, 71 overall. He looks like he could break into the major league level. I don't know how I feel about that. I might nerf his over that a pitcher coming out of college like Toby McVale is like basically MLB ready already. I think that he should spend some time in the minors, so I have him in AAA right now, but I've considered taking his overall down. We have Braxton Ashcraft, who has performed really well at the end of the season last year, and he's projected to come up in a short span, hopefully at least by next season. Otis Matthews, who was another one of our draft picks, 67 overall A potential, I have starting in AAA, along with Sam Dorda, progressed really nicely last season. You guys can see their overalls are looking really good. Our first overall draft pick, Prince Hoff, is starting down in AA, which I have no problems with. 18 years old, 65 overall A potential. I really like the look of this guy. I was considering editing these draft picks to be real life prospects, but I kind of honestly like the look of them. I kind of like what we got here in these prospects, so I don't have any complaints. If you guys want to see these guys change to real prospects, I don't have a problem with that. I would happily do that, but for the most part, I actually kind of enjoy the names. Like Otis Matthews is a pretty cool player out of Georgia. Prince Hoff is a really cool name. He's coming out of Michigan. I really like these guys, so I'm going to stick with them unless you guys want to see otherwise. In addition, in our Double-A roster, we have John Duplantier, who was the guy that we claimed off waivers last year, so hopefully we can see some progression out of him. Quinn Priester, who was the Pirates' first-round draft pick last year, has progressed really nicely up to a 63 overall with A potential. James Marvell, who was a Double-A All-Star last year, we kept around just because he has some ability, and hopefully his potential can go up, and hopefully he can keep increasing his overall. And then our last player down in Double-A is Desmond Sable. I have no idea where we got this guy. He wasn't a draft pick. I might have signed him in free agency or something. I think I might have seen him there as like a 19-year-old. He might have been an undrafted player in the draft. But we ended up with him on the roster, and I have absolutely no complaints about getting another A potential guy deep into the farm system. He might not project out to ever play for us, but we'll see what happens deep down the line with that. In terms of our relief pitchers, we have Scott Foster. Obviously, all these guys up here that I had already talked about. And then we got Tom Lolich, who I believe was our relief pitcher draft pick, 4th or 5th round pick, something like that. Another guy that I considered nerfing, but he's starting up there in AAA. Alvaro Armas progressed up to a 65 overall. We have Yaxel Rios, who we kept around. Rob Wallace, who I believe we traded for last season. Jeff Hartlieb progressed a little bit. Hunter Harvey progressed up to a 61. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember when we traded for him. He was like a 56-ish overall. So he progressed nicely since last season. Matt Eckelman is still around. A lot of these prospects you might recognize if you're familiar with the Pirates farm system. Luis Escobar stuck around. Joe Jacques, I don't know where he came from. I don't recognize the name, but he might be a real prospect in this system. And then this one I really enjoyed, Matt Foster. I saw this guy hanging around, and I was like, hold on a second. This is our fake relief pitcher's brother, Scott Foster. Matt Foster, welcome to the team, older brother, or younger brother actually. So we have Scott Foster's younger brother in the farm system here, which I just think is kind of a cool story. Hopefully he can turn into something for us. He was a free agent. I picked him up in the offseason. I scoured the free agency pool for any high potential prospects I could find, and I saw this guy sitting there, and I was like, well, that's perfect. I mean, he matches up perfectly well, and he's going to be that guy's younger brother. We have Dylan Tate sitting down here. And then we traded for Gil Hernandez. This can't be a real guy because he's only 18 years old. I don't know what trade he came over in. To be honest with you guys, I don't have pictures of all the trades this time, so you're just going to have to roll with me as we update. Unfortunately, I don't have pictures of all those trades, like I said. We got him over. He's just going to sit in our single-A system as a 46 overall 18-year-old. I feel like he'll progress. Players tend to progress in our single-A system if they're in the 40 overall range, so I don't have a problem with that. In terms of our closing pitchers, we do have some nice prospects here. Keone Kela, obviously, after a really strong start last season and a really strong stretch in the playoffs, getting a couple saves for us. He's up to an 89 overall, and his potential went up to an A, which is really nice to see. He's going to be one of the best closers in the league at this point. We have Gerson Batista, who's a 68 overall B potential guy that could potentially join our major league roster in short order. Henry Rosario, who's been around, and then this guy Gene Taylor, both of them have B potential, so really nice things going on there. In terms of our catchers, everything is pretty similar here. I think that we signed this guy William Zhu, who is a international prospect. He's coming from South Korea as a undrafted free agent, so I decided to pick him up because it can't hurt to have more guys with potential sitting around in our farm system. Andres Gonzalez, I remember we traded for him last season, and the rest of these guys have been around: Pearsall, DeLay, Pabst, Raleigh, Varsho, and Murphy. Obviously, we have this situation where we have 3 catchers stuck up in the major league. So what I might do, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I might move Varsho to outfield because he has that speed. I like him as a catching prospect. I like having speed with a catcher because it's nice to be able to have that guy that can get up, get to a ball, and throw a guy out at first if it's like a wild pitch or something like that. Or I could move Cal Raleigh to third base because, like I said, he has that 69 arm strength, which is pretty good for a guy that's this young, and hopefully he can continue to develop that. If that's something you guys want to see, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave them as is and play them at their secondary positions when needed. At first base, Mason Martin progressed hugely since last season. He's up to a 65 overall with B potential. I'm really looking forward to this guy being a platoon player for us in the future. Lots of power. That's what I like to see out of a DH. So he could really project as a good DH for us. Obviously, his fielding stats are atrocious, and so that's pretty much where he projects out as a DH. JJ Matijevic is up to a 60 overall. He did progress decently well, and he was batting really well down in Double-A, so I'm going to try and start him out in Triple-A as the second first baseman and see if he does anything this season. He might get demoted to Double-A, but we'll see. We picked up Bob Barnard in free agency. Brian Nalot, I believe, was a draft pick for us. We got a couple of B potential guys out of this. Salvador Escobar, I have no clue where he came from. He might have been a free agent, but he's only a 39 overall, so another young guy that I can start down there in single A, and hopefully he will progress into something. Second base, we have Kevin Newman. We traded away Kevin Kramer, I believe it was, because he was the one that caused some of our problems with players up in the major leagues. We had too many players that couldn't be optioned back down to the minors, so we traded away Kevin Kramer, and I believe we got this guy, Joe Rizzo, back in return for him, which is a nice A potential prospect. But back to second base, Liover Peguero moves over to second base for us because I think that he projects out as a potential future second baseman for us because he just doesn't have the arm that I would like to see out of a third baseman or a shortstop. So we'll see what happens with him. He did develop a little bit. And then we have Reggie Kelton here, who I believe was either a draft pick or a free agent pickup that just kind of fills out the minor league roster for us. In third base, Cabrian Hayes starting for us. Colin Moran's going to be our DH for the time being. Joe Rizzo, like I said, we traded away Kevin Kramer to get him, which is a really nice add because he's got really good potential. He looks like he could be a really good defender if he continues to progress well, and he could have a good bat. DJ Bird, Antonio Reyes, Fritz Barrett, these guys are hanging around from last season, so we'll continue to look at their development and watch them as we move forward. O'Neal Cruz starting for us at shortstop with Cole Tucker up in the majors with us as well. Very good defensive guy, very good bat, so we're going to try and do more with him this season and hope that he can really turn into a good platoon player for us. That's, I think, what he projects out as. A guy that can kind of play around at a couple different positions in the infield and can be a good defensive substitution for us, or a good bat off the bench. We have Adrian Valerio, Olivier Vasquez, and then Lee Hurd, who was a trade last year, I believe. So I don't believe he's new to the team. Brian Reynolds, Chris Sharper still hanging around. Leroy Gonzalez was a free agent pickup. I saw this guy sitting there. Didn't need him, but I saw his abilities sitting there as a prospect out there in free agency, and I was like, you know what? The guy looks cool. I have no problems bringing him in because he's got good speed for the outfield. He's got decent power numbers. Not half bad fielding numbers for what his overall is. He's going to help out down in Double-A. Cal Mitchell is going to be up there in Triple-A. Hopefully he can develop. We've got Christian Reese, who was a late free agent pickup at the end of last season just to fill out the bottom half of our roster with Richard Sherwood here playing left field. He might have been a draft pick for us in center field. Jason Martin is up at the MLB level, but not starting. He's going to platoon. And I have to start Brandon Marsh just because his potential is better. We have Travis Swaggerty, who is getting ready to break into the major leagues. Hopefully he has a good season. I wouldn't mind to see him up at some point. Maybe trade away Jason Martin later on or find a spot to work Swaggerty in eventually. But it might be a while. It depends on how quickly he develops. Tony Quintana and Chris Coronado round out the minor league system for us here at Centerfield, and Coronado looks like he could be a really nice defensive player in the future. If you look at his speed, his stealing, his reaction, and his fielding are all very good for a guy that's only a 53 overall and a guy that's only 20 years old. At right field, we obviously have JJ Bleday. We have Socrates Brito and Sammy Siani still progressing nicely out there in right field. Socrates Brito will probably be a trade for us at some point just because he's getting up there in age. He's not progressing particularly well in any area that I would need him to. He's got really nice speed, so there is the option that I could bring him in as a pinch runner type of player. He could be a platoon player where he could play leadoff for us. We'll see what happens with that. We've got John Baird, Marshall Norman, David Morey, who was a free agent pickup out of New York was sitting around in free agency, and Bartolo Gonzalez. So we have a lot of really good prospects down in the minor leagues. As you guys can see, that's how our lineup and our rotation works out. Just wanted to give you guys an update on the roster, the playoff position from last season, where we're standing today. Like I said, I thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. We've blown way past my goal of 750 subscribers for this year. So hopefully we can continue to grow as a community. Hopefully now that I have a little bit more time, I can sit down and actually play some more games on Twitch and upload some gameplay from this franchise, just to give you guys some things that are different or interesting to watch. Make sure that if you guys enjoy this content, you leave a like, you subscribe to the channel if you're new, and you comment down below with what you guys would like to see next. Like I said, I had a couple questions throughout the video, so if you guys have suggestions on what you guys want to see with certain players, like if you guys want to see me move one of those catchers to a different position, make sure you leave that down in the comment section, and I'll be sure to read all those and respond if you guys need help with anything. I'll see you guys in the next video. This has been the update so far for this season. I will try to update you guys a little bit more often, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you guys have a good one and stay safe.